Hey guys, my name is Jordan Harrison. Welcome back to YouTube. And today I'm going to be talking about the recent Marvel film that came out yesterday, and that is the Eternals. If you don't know who these characters are, it's about these immortal beings who are pretty much the guardians of the earth in the Marvel universe, and throughout the whole movie, they're trying to defeat these alien creatures called deviants from taking over the world. And yeah, the movie didn't really have much of a good plot because they kept going back and forth with present day to the past, or a few weeks ago, a few days ago, a few months, or 500 BC. They're just going back and forth with the before Christ timeline and present day timeline. They're going back and forth with the past timeline. It gets confusing and it gives me a headache. Throughout the whole movie, they kept doing that, and we're just wondering what is going on throughout the whole movie. Are we actually going in the past? Are we actually going to find out what's going to happen in the future for Marvel? We just don't know, and I guess that's why this movie got a really bad rating for how much chaos this movie gave to us Marvel fans. I mean, there are other MCU films that really didn't do good, like Iron Man 2 and Thor: The Dark World, for example. For this movie, most people are saying this is the worst MCU film ever. And though I have to agree, because like I said before, they weren't mentioned in any of the past MCU films. None of these characters were mentioned. Think about it. It would be better if their names were mentioned in past MCU films, and that way we can be hyped for the movie. Even though they didn't mention the names and we were hyped about the movie, we went to see it in theaters and grabbed our popcorn. We're now seeing how this movie isn't going to be as good as other big MCU films like Iron Man, Black Panther, Avengers Infinity War, Avengers Endgame. Those particular MCU films are high-grossing MCU films. But for this movie, Eternals, this movie did not work. And for most Marvel fans, we expect things to be actually from the comic books and not just from some director's own mind, because we can expect a director's mind to take over the whole comic book and make their own story that's pretty much not from a comic book, and it makes the whole movie become way worse than you will ever imagine. And that's the whole point. You just don't really know when to start when you're talking about a Marvel film that really didn't do this good. I could say there are other Marvel films that are not really MCU contents, like, Daredevil, for example. There's other films, but for this particular MCU movie, Eternals, I just didn't really see it as much of a Marvel film. It's more like, I guess, a CW TV show that has terrible CGI and terrible scripts that gave the actors some unquestionable reasons to pretty much leave the whole studio. And it would be hilarious if that happened, but clearly they're in this movie because of money. So the whole point of this movie was just to talk about these celestial beings saving the world and all that. They mentioned some Marvel characters, like they mentioned Doctor Strange, Iron Man, and Captain America. And clearly they were making some other Avengers references, but they also mentioned Thanos And I was thinking about Thanos showing up in the Eternals movie, but they didn't. But they just said his name and talked about the blip events that happened 5 years ago. And again, the timeline makes no sense in this particular movie. We understand the timeline in the past MCU films, but in this timeline, makes no sense. So I could see what Chloe Zhao was doing, and for her being an Academy Award winning director, I could see more from her, but not in this particular movie. She could have done a different MCU film than this movie. And for this movie, I would have to say it could have been way further in the future and not right away, because we are trying to figure out more characters to bring into the MCU for a fifth Avengers movie where we'll have the new Avengers. And I'm not sure if the Eternals will team up with the Avengers in Avengers 5. We just don't know. And how will they have a good interaction with these characters? So this is the whole problem with this movie, how their future events in the MCU would pretty much make some of the MCU films go rock bottom if the Eternals have a crossover with the Avengers or the Guardians of the Galaxy or any other Marvel team that's coming up, like maybe the X-Men or Fantastic Four. It would just pretty much ruin some of the MCU films, and hopefully not if a director is trying to not create too much of a storyline for the Eternals' future MCU events. But yeah, anyway, this is my review about the Eternals movie. Again, I don't really go for this movie being one of the best MCU films. I would just have to say this was the absolute worst for how many people are saying this is just downright horrible. And yeah, but anyway, yeah, thank you guys for hearing my video about the Eternals. As always, please give me a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel, go to the notification bar if you do not want to miss a video I post, and check out the Eternals in theaters. Thank you guys for watching my video. Take care, and I'll see you guys next time.